Dear student, welcome back again in our today's session. So, as you can see that today I am going to talk about on the topic data management in SPSS. In my previous lecture, I have already spoke about on the concept of SPSS, and in this present lecture I am going to discuss about data management in SPSS in detail. So, without further ado, let's start our today's topic. So, first we will understand the data management in SPSS. Effective data management is very essential for the integrity and reliability of research findings. SPSS facilitates various aspects of data management. So, as you can see that the first one is data entry. So, if we talk about the data entry, the first one is manual data entry. This means typing your data directly into SPSS. You can open the data view in SPSS, which look like a table, and type your data into the cells, just like you would in Excel. This is very useful for a small database or when you need to enter data that is not already in a digital format. After the manual data entry, the second one is importing data. If we talk about the importing data, that means if your data is already in a file like an Excel spreadsheet, a CSV stands for Common Separated Values file or a database, you don't have to enter it manually. And SPSS allow you to bring this data into the software by importing it. This saves our time and reduces the chances of errors. Now, the second one is data cleaning in SPSS. So if we talk about the data cleaning in SPSS, under this point there is a 2 points are mentioned. The first one is handling missing values. Handling missing values, sometimes your data set might have a missing information. SPSS helps find these missing values and decide what to do with them. SPSS, you can either ignore them, replace them with an estimated values, or remove those data points. Properly handling missing data is very crucial, very essential to keep your result accurate. Now, the second one is outlier detection. Outlier detections are unusual values in your data that don't fit the patterns of the rest of your data. They can distort your analysis if not addressed. So SPSS has a tools to help you find these outlines and decide whether to keep them, adjust them, or remove them. This ensures that your data is more consistent and reliable and valid. Now, the third one is data transformation in SPSS. If we talk about the data transformation in SPSS, so as you can see that the first point is record variables. Record variables, sometimes you might need to change how your values, how your data is coded. For example, you want to turn your text like male and female into the numerical codings like 1 and 2. SPSS lets you record variables easily, which helps in performing statistical analysis that requires number. Now, the second one is Compute variable. Compute variable, that means you might need to create a new data based on existing data. For instance, if you have a variable for a height and another for weight, you can use SPSS to calculate a new variable like body mass index, which is very useful for the both height and weight. This process of creating a new variables from existing ones is called computing variable. So each of these functions in SPSS is designed to help researchers to manage their data efficiently and ensuring their analysis are accurate and trustworthy. Now, the second one is descriptive status in SPSS. So if we talk about the descriptive statics in SPSS, it summarizes and describes the main features of a data set and providing an overview of the data's central tendency, variability, and distribution. So, as you can see that the first one is measures of central tendency. In descriptive statics are very essential for understanding and interpreting data, providing an overview of the data set's main characteristics. These statistics help in summarizing the central tendencies, variability, and distributions of the data, making it very easier to comprehend and communicate findings. In SPSS, descriptive statics are used to explore data before conducting a more complex analysis. So, the first one is under the measure of central tendency, mean. The mean is often referred to as the average is calculated by summing all the values in a data set and dividing by the number of the observation. It provides a single value representing the central point of the data distribution. The mean is particularly useful for the data that is systematically distributed, but it can be heavily influenced by outliers, extremely high or low values in the data set. In SPSS, the mean is easily computed using the descriptive statics functions, allow the researchers to quickly assess the central range of their data. Now, the second one is medium. The medium represents the middle value in a data set when the data points are arranged in ascending and descending orders. Unlike the mean, the median is not affected by outliers, making it more robust measures of a central tendency for skewed the distributions. If the data set contains an odd number of observations, the median is the value at the center. For an even number of observations, the median is the average of two central tendencies, two central values. SPSS can compute the median through its frequencies or descriptive statics functions, offering an alternative perspectives on data central tendencies, especially in the presence of skewed data. Now, the next one is mode. The mode is the most frequently occurring the value in a data set. It is particularly useful for the category data where mean and median not to be meaningful. The mode can also be used for continuous data, though it may be a less informative if the data is evenly spread without repeated values. In case where a data set has a more than one mode, it is the described as bimodal or multimodal. SPSS can determine the mode through the frequencies functions, making it simple to identify the most common occurrence in the data. So now the next one is measures of variability. If we talk about the measures of variability, the first one is range. Range means the difference between maximum and minimum values. So basically the range provides a simple measures of variability by calculating the differences between the maximum and minimum values in a data set. While easy to understand, the range can be a misleading if the dataset includes the outliers, as a single extreme value can greatly increase the range. So therefore, the range is often used in a conjunction with other measures of variability to provide a fuller picture of data dispersions. In SPSS, the range can be quickly determined by subtracting the minimum values from the maximum value, which is often displayed in output of the descriptive statics analysis. So after discussing about range, now the second one is variations. So basically we talk about the variations. Variations means the average of the square differences between each data point and the mean. By squaring these differences, variations emphasizes the larger deviations, making it useful measures for understanding data spread. However, because variance is used on squared units, it is not directly interpreted in the same units as the original data. In SPSS, variance is calculated using the descriptive statics functions, and it provides an essential foundation for other statistical measures, including the standard deviation and inferential statistics like ANOVA. Now, the next one is standard deviation. So, if we talk about the standard deviation that means the square root of the variations indicating the average distance from the mean. So, in simple terms, we can say that standard deviation is the square root of variations. In bringing the measures back to the same units as the original data, making it easier to interpret. It indicates the average distance of each data point from the mean, providing insight into how spread out the data points are. A small standard deviation suggests that the data points are close to the mean, while a large standard deviation indicates more spread. In SPSS, standard deviation is a key output of the descriptive statics functions often used to describe the variability of data in a research report. Now, the next one is frequency distributions. If we talk about the frequency distribution, that means SPSS can generate the frequency tables which shows the number of occurrence for each category or value in a data set. So in simple terms, we can say that about the frequency distributions. So basically, frequency distributions, if we talk about frequency distribution, it allows the researchers to visualize how often each value occurs. This is particularly useful for categories data, where it is important to understand the distribution of responses across the different categories. Frequency distribution can also be displayed graphically using bar, chart, or histograms, providing a clear and immediate visual representation of data's distribution. This is very essential for identifying patterns, trends, and potential data within the data set. So, by examining frequency distributions, the researcher can gain a better understanding of the data structure and make informed decisions about the subsequent analysis. After the frequency distribution, now the next one is inferential statics in SPSS. So if we talk about the inferential statics in SPSS, that means it allows the researchers to make inferences about the population based on a sample. SPSS supports a various inferential statistical tests. So inferential statics are essential for researchers to draw conclusions and making of findings about a population based on data collected from a sample. Unlike descriptive statics, which is simply summarize the data, inferential statics allow the researchers to make a predictions, test hypotheses, and determine relationship between the variables. SPSS is a powerful tool that supports the various inferential statistical tests and helping the researchers to perform these analyses with ease. Below, if we talk about the inferential statics, so below the key components of inferential statics in SPSS are explained as the first one is if we talk about the hypothesis testing, the first one is t-test. T-test generally used to compare the mean of two groups to determine whether they are statistically significantly different from each other or not. In SPSS, there are three main types of tests: independent sample t-test, paired sample t-test, or one sample t-test. So, if we talk about the independent sample t-test, this test compares the mean of two independent groups. It can be male or female to see if there is a statistically significant difference between them. In SPSS, the test is performed by the selecting the two groups and the dependent variable to be compared. The test assumes that the variations of the two groups are equal, and if this assumption is violated, SPSS provides an alternative methods to account for the unequal variations. Now, the second one is paired sample t-test. It is also known as a dependent t-test. This test compares the mean of two related groups, pre-test as post-test scores, to see if there is a statistically significant difference between them. And in SPSS, this test is used when the same subjects are measured under the two different conditions. The paired sample test accounts for the fact that the observations are not independent, making it a more appropriate, more concise, and choice than the independent sample t-test in such cases. Now, the third one is one sample test. If we talk about the one sample test, that means this test compares the mean of a single group to a known value or a hypothesis population mean. It is very useful when you want to determine whether the sample mean is significantly different from a specific value. In SPSS, this test is performed by specifying the test value and the variable of interest. Now, the second one is ANOVA. ANOVA stands for Analysis of Variations. So, analysis of variance ANOVA is a statistical method used to compare the means of three or more groups to determine if at least one group mean is a significant different from the other. There are several type of ANOVA tests available in SPSS, including one-way ANOVA, factorial ANOVA, and repeated measures ANOVA. So let's understand one by one. If we talk about one-way ANOVA, this test is used when comparing the means of three or more independent groups based on one factor. In SPSS, one-way ANOVA is performed by selecting the dependent variable and the grouping of variable. So if the test shows a significant difference, post-hoc test can also be conducted to identify which specific group differ from each other. Now, the second one is factorial ANOVA. So if we talk about the factorial ANOVA, this test is very useful and generally it is used where there are two or more independent variables that means the factors, and their interaction is of interest. Factorial ANOVA allow the researchers to examine the main effects of each factors and the interactions effects between factors. So overall in SPSS, the test is performed by selecting the dependent variable and the independent variables to be included in the analysis. Now, the third one is repeated measures ANOVA. So if we talk about the repeated measures ANOVA, that means this test is used when the same subjects are measured under the different condition or at the different times. It accounts for the correlation between a repeated measurement on the same subjects. In SPSS, repeated measures ANOVA is conducted by specifying the within the subjects factors and the dependent variable. This test is often used in a logistic studies or experiments with the repeated observation. After the ANOVA, let's discuss about the chi-square test. A chi-square test is very important test to find the results. So this test assesses the relationship between the categorical variables. So basically, we talk about the chi-square test. It is a non-parametric test used to assess the relationship between the categorical variables. In SPSS, the two most common chi-square tests are independence and the chi-square goodness of fit test. So basically, we talk about the chi-square test of independence. This test generally examines whether there is a significant association between the two category variables like a gender and preferences for a product. In SPSS, this test is performed by selecting the two categories variable of interest and generating a continuity of the table. The test assesses whether the observed frequencies in each category differ significantly from the expected frequencies under the assumptions of independence. And now the second one is chi-square goodness of fit test. So if we talk about the chi-square goodness of fit test, this test is used to determine whether the observed frequencies of a single categorical variable match the expected frequencies based on a theoretical distributions. In SPSS, this test is conducted by specifying the observed data and the expected frequencies, allow the researchers to conduct and to assess how well the observed data fits the expected distributions. Now, the next is correlation analysis. If we talk about the correlation analysis, the first one is Pearson correlation. Pearson correlation measures the strength and the direction of the linear relationship between the two continuous variables. It is one of the most commonly used correlation coefficient, and a Pearson correlation indicates a perfect positive linear relationship, and -1 indicates a perfect negative linear relationship, and 0 indicates to linear relationship. In SPSS, Pearson correlation is calculated using the correlate functions where the researcher can select the two variables of interest. And the output provides the correlation coefficient along with the significant label to determine if the correlation is statistically significant or not. Pearson correlation assumes that the both variables are normally distributed and that the relationship between them is linear. And the second one is Spearman correlation. If we talk about the Spearman correlation, it measures the strength and direction of the monotonic relationship between the two variables. It is non-parametric test, meaning it does not assume normal distribution of the variables. Instead of relying on the actual values, Spearman correlation is based on the ranks of data. This makes it more appropriate for data that does not meet the assumptions of Pearson correlation or for the ordinal data. The Pearson correlation coefficient also range from -1 to +1 with interpretations similar to the Pearson correlation. In SPSS, Spearman correlation can be computed using the correlate functions where researchers select the variables to interest and choose the Spearman method. And it is a particularly useful when the relationship between the variable is not linear but still follows a consistent direction, either the increasing or decreasing. So in SPSS, it offers a robust set of tools for conducting an inferential statistical analysis. While using these tools, researcher can test a hypothesis, compare the group of means, assess the relationship between the variables, and draw meaningful conclusions from their data. And now the next one is regression analysis. If we talk about the regression analysis, so as you can see that regression analysis is a very powerful statistical method used to examine the relationship between the variables, allow the researchers to make the prediction test hypothesis and understand the dynamics with their data. In SPSS, several types of regression analysis are supported, each suited to the different types of data and research questions. So as you can see that the first one is linear regressions. So basically linear regression is a fundamental statistical method used to examine the relationship between a single dependent variable and one more independent variable. The goal is to model of the dependent variable as a linear function of the independent variable. This relation is represented by a straight line known as the regression line, which is best fits the data. Now, the second one is multiple regression. So, multiple regression explain the principles of linear regressions by examining the relationship between a dependent variable and two or more independent variables. This allows the researchers to assess the impact of multiple predictors on an outcome simultaneously and to control for the effects of other variables. Now, the third one is logistic regression. So if we talk about the logistic regression, so basically logistic regressions used for modeling the probability of a binary outcomes. That means logistic regression is used when the dependent variable is categorical, typically binary, meaning It has two possible outcomes, unlike linear regressions, which predicts a continuous outcomes. Logistic regression models the probability of a particular outcomes occurring. So basically, SPSS also supports other form of logistic regression such as a multi-nominal logistic regression for the outcome with more than two categories and ordinal logistics regressions for order categorical outcomes. So these models extend the principles of binary logistic regressions to accommodate more complex types of categorical data. So overall, we can say that regression analysis in SPSS provides a comprehensive set of tools for exploring and modeling the relationship between variables, whether examine a simple relationship with a linear regression, controlling for multiple factors with a multiple regression, or prediction categorical outcomes with a logistic regression. SPSS enables researchers to gain a valuable insight from their data. So, overall, we can say that SPSS is a very essential tool for the researcher. Thank you.